Chapter 4. Lessons from the road. The rain continued through the night, and well into the morning, washing the streets clean, but leaving the city damp and cold. Elias rose before dawn, as he always did, his mind heavy with the memory of the previous day. Henry Durrett's offer still echoed in his thoughts, not because he regretted refusing, but because it had shown him something vital about himself. He had discovered that temptation did not always come in the form of evil. Sometimes it came dressed in elegance, offering a smile and a handshake. It whispered promises of success, respect, and comfort. But beneath its charm, Elias had sensed the same emptiness he had seen in the eyes of men who had traded their integrity for wealth. He dressed, laced his shoes, and placed his sample brushes carefully into his suitcase. The rain had eased to a drizzle, and the air outside carried the crisp scent of wet earth. He took a long breath before stepping out. The world, despite its hardships, still felt full of promise. The morning streets were quiet, slick with rainwater and reflecting the glow of early lanterns. Elias began his walk, each step measured and deliberate. He didn't yet know where the day would take him, but he knew it would teach him something. It always did. The shoemaker's lesson. His first stop that morning was a small shoemaker's workshop tucked between two tall buildings. The shop was modest, cracked window, a faded sign that read Renard and Son, quality repairs since 1889. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of leather, glue, and patience. Behind the counter stood a man in his late 50s, with hands as rough as sandpaper and eyes that spoke of decades of work. He looked up as Elias entered. "Good morning," Elias began, tipping his hat politely. "I'm Elias Moreau, a traveling salesman. I sell polish and brushes that can," the man interrupted with a short laugh. "Another salesman, eh? I see one of your kind every other week. You all say your polish shines brighter and lasts longer." Elias smiled softly. "Perhaps. But I've learned that the shine isn't just in the polish it's in the way it's used. May I show you?" The shoemaker raised an eyebrow but gestured toward an old pair of boots on the counter. Elias knelt, opened his case, and began to work. His motions were deliberate, rhythmic, the kind his father had taught him long ago. As he brushed the leather, the dull brown began to deepen, catching the light. The shoemaker watched in silence, his skepticism softening. When Elias finished, the boots gleamed like they had been reborn. "You've got a careful hand," the old man said finally. "Not just a salesman's hand, a craftsman's." Elias smiled. "My father was a craftsman. He taught me that even selling can be a form of craftsmanship, if you care about what you offer." The man nodded slowly. "Then your father was a wise man." He reached for his coin pouch and bought 2 brushes and 3 tins of polish. "Not because I need them," he added, "but because I believe in the hands that sold them." As Elias stepped out of the shop, he felt a quiet satisfaction. It wasn't the money that mattered, it was the connection, the respect earned not through persuasion, but through authenticity. Lesson 1, he wrote in his notebook later. The best salesman does not sell to the customer's wallet, but to their faith. Earn that, and you have earned more than gold. 2. The widow's table by noon. The rain had stopped, replaced by a sky the color of pewter. Elias wandered into the outskirts of the city, where the houses grew smaller and closer together. There, he came upon a woman sweeping her porch, a widow, by the look of her simple black dress and weary eyes. "Good afternoon," Elias called out, lifting his hat. "May I trouble you with a demonstration of—" She stopped sweeping and leaned on her broom. "Young man, I haven't a coin to spare for polish or brushes. My late husband's boots are the only leather left in this house, and they're buried with him." Elias lowered his hat respectfully. I'm sorry to hear that, madam. I didn't mean to intrude, she sighed. You're not intruding. You're just one of many trying to make an honest living. I can't buy what you sell, but you're welcome to come in for a cup of tea, if you'd like. Surprised by her kindness, Elias accepted. Inside, the home was humble but clean, filled with the faint scent of lavender and old wood. They sat at a small wooden table near a window that overlooked a small garden. Over tea, the widow spoke of her life, of her husband, a railway worker who had died 2 winters ago, and of her son, who had left for the city and seldom wrote. She spoke without bitterness, only quiet resignation. You remind me of him, she said. Always moving, always chasing something. Elias smiled gently. The road calls to some of us, but it also teaches. She looked at him thoughtfully. And what has it taught you so far? He hesitated. That success means little if you lose yourself along the way. And that kindness, freely given, is rarer than gold. The widow smiled faintly. Then perhaps the road is not only teaching you, it's testing you. When he rose to leave, she handed him a small linen cloth. For your shoes, she said. It's clean and soft. It will help your polish shine better. Elias accepted it with gratitude. I'll think of you whenever I use it. Lesson 2, he later wrote. Even those who have nothing left to give can still give something. And in their giving, they remind us why we walked the road at all. 3. The innkeeper's warning. That evening, Elias returned to his inn, tired but content. As he entered, he found the innkeeper, stout man named Bernard, behind the counter, polishing a glass. You've been out late again, Bernard said, not unkindly. Be careful, lad. The road can be cruel to dreamers. Elias laughed softly. I'll keep that in mind. Bernard studied him. I've seen men like you before. Bright eyes, honest heart. The world loves to test such men. Don't let it change you. I try not to, Elias said. Try harder, Bernard replied. The road doesn't just teach lessons, it asks questions. Every mile, every face, every deal is a question, and the answer you give shapes who you become. Elias nodded slowly, realizing that the man spoke from experience. He thanked him, then retired to his room. That night, as the rain began again, he sat by the window, the widow's cloth folded neatly beside his notebook. He dipped his brush in polish and began to shine his shoes, not for vanity, but for reflection. Each stroke reminded him of his father's workshop, of his mother's quiet wisdom, of the cobbler's words, the widow's kindness, and the innkeeper's warning. The road, he realized, was a mirror. It showed a man who he truly was. He wrote one final note before extinguishing the lamp. Lesson 3. The road does not reward speed, nor wealth, nor cleverness. It rewards truth. Walk it honestly, and even failure becomes wisdom. Elias closed the notebook and looked out at the street below. The rain shimmered in the lamplight, each drop a small reflection of something greater. He did not yet know where the road would lead him, but for the first time, he felt ready for whatever it would teach next. Tomorrow, he would leave this city and head north. There were new towns waiting, new faces to meet, and new lessons to learn. As he drifted into sleep, the sound of rain became the rhythm of the road, the same road that had begun with a suitcase and a dream, and now carried the heart of a man slowly becoming more than a salesman.